So this is going to be kind of like a testimony video, but what made me kind of do this video is because I'm rereading the book of Joshua, and I'm reminded of the walls of Jericho, which I'm going to read for you in a minute. And sometimes when we read this story, obviously it tells a story of we should praise through the storm and stuff, and you hear all these kind of like Christian music that say, like, for example, Praise by Brandon Lake and Evolution Worship, about how we praise him or we don't feel like praising, or we hear a lot of sermons like that, we praise even though we don't feel like praising, that kind of thing. And I'm a testament. Probably this is more so at extreme level as to how this actually works. And I remember when this situation happens, and it still happens now and again, and I think to myself, now I get it when people say to praise through the storm, because it can literally pull you out of so many different things in many different ways. But first I'm going to read the story. So it is in the book of Joshua, and it's from chapter 6. Now Jericho was securely shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, See, I have given Jericho in your hand, its king, and the mighty men of the law. You shall march around the city, all you men of war. You shall go all around the city once. This you shall do 6 days, and 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns from the ark. But the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. It shall come to pass when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, that all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, every man straight before him. Then Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord. And he said to the people, Proceed and march around the city, and let him who is armed advance before the ark of the Lord. So it was when Joshua had spoken to the people that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Lord advanced and blew the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant, the Lord followed them. The armed men went before the priests, who blew the trumpets, and the rear guard came after the ark, while the priests continued blowing the trumpets. Now Joshua had commanded the people, saying, You shall not shout or make any noise with your voice, nor shall a word proceed out your mouth, until the day I say to you, Shout. Then you shall shout. So he had the ark of the Lord circle the city, going around it once. Then they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. And Joshua arose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. Then 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord went on continually and blew with the trumpets, and the armed men went before them. But the rear guard came after the ark of the Lord, while the priests continued blowing the trumpets. And the 2nd day they marched around the city once and returned to the camp, so they did 6 days. But it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day, and marched around the city 7 times in the same manner. On the day only they marched around the city 7 times, and the 7th time it happened, when the priests blew the trumpets, that Joshua said to the people, Shout, for the Lord has given you the city. Now the city shall be doomed by the Lord to destruction, and it all who are in it. Only Rahab and the harlot shall live, she and all who are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. And you by all means abstain from the accursed things, lest you become accursed when you take of the accursed things, and make the camp of Israel accursed and trouble it. But all the silver and gold and vessels of bronze and iron are consecrated to the Lord. They shall come into the treasury of the Lord. So the priest shouted when the priest blew the trumpets, and it happened, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with great shout, that the wall fell down flat. Then the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. Now for me, I am somebody who has issues with anxiety. So when I first became a Christian, it was like overdrive, because I'm somebody who keeps myself to myself, but it's a process. It's still a process where God is like pushing me out there. Anyway, and I remember I used to always get nervous. So back then we used to do quite a few like Bible kind of classes and stuff. I used to always be nervous for a Bible study, and I remember where I had to literally listen to kind of like gospel music just to get through it. And my favourite ones at the time, and still is the Brandon Lake one. I can't remember the name of the album, but it's one where the background's green. But yeah, that one really pushed me. So that was kind of like the first kind of instance where, okay, but it wasn't to that extreme. That wasn't when I was like, oh, now I get it. When it really happened is, so as I said, I've struggled with anxiety all throughout my life. Sometimes it gets pretty bad, and this has happened on two occasions where I've kind of, I won't go too much in detail as to what triggered it, but where where I'm out and I have really bad anxiety. Like, I am walking near home, and it's like if I have a full on, like close to having a full on panic attack, I'm like, I need to get home, but then I'm crippled at the same time, and I'm struggling, and I found like listening literally to gospel music, Christian music in my head, and kind of singing the lyrics in my head just to make it home without just full on just having a complete and utter kind of breakdown. And I remember when this first happened and I managed to get home, and I was like, now I get it. This is what I get. This is what I get when it says praise you through the storm. And at that moment, I was literally praising through the storm just to get through the front door, because I just didn't think I could make it. And this has happened, a few times. When literally, obviously that is like an extreme example, but that even then, that is like an example of, you know, what it means to kind of praise. Like, even if you find it hard to kind of even speak at the time you're struggling, or if you're having a panic attack, the simplest thing is to kind of try and kind of stop whatever's going on with your mind, try and kind of speak truth. Or even if you can't that, just listen to some music. I'm somebody who constantly had headphones anyway, so it wasn't so hard for me. So even in my head, just trying to kind of focus on every word of the song just to get through it, and to try and kind of like dance through it, if that makes any sense. Just focusing on obviously Christian music, and obviously Christian music speaks most of the time, we're not getting into the whole dojo thing. I don't even understand. I never even understand that, but whatever. Just listening to the lyrics, and they speak of God's truth, and just getting through it, and it just got me. Oh, that's when I knew it. So and it's even when you go to church, like I could be in a complete another bad mood. I could be in bad mood. I could be exhausted, like completely exhausted. I really can't be bothered. And it's same when it's a home church week. Sometimes I really can't be bothered, but as soon as I walk through those doors, it's like now I just feel the presence. And obviously we've got in church we have obviously at the beginning, like most churches, we sing gospel music, Christian music, whatever you want to call it, hymns, whatever church you go to, and that just puts you in that mindset of completely forgetting what you're going through, and just focusing and praising of how good he is and how great he is, instead of focusing on whatever you're struggling with at the minute. If you just focus on God. So that's kind of my kind of like testimony kind of thing as to how literally praising really does help get you through, you know, whatever you're struggling with, and that be temporary until you get through through your door. Or you can like pray. As I said, it also depends on kind of on the situation, but that was what works for me, where I listen to the Christian music, as well as just trying to kind of pray in my head, like, God, can you kind of just take this away from me, whatever's going. So it's kind of like a mix between the both. The main thing is when they say praise through this storm, they really mean it, because there is power in praise. There is so much power in praise.